everybody, welcome to Bestie Book Reviews. I'm here with my bestie Mandy.
And I'm here with my bestie Jessica for Take 5.
It has been quite the morning for us. So we've tried this 5 times. Okay, so we're together.
Yes.
Where are we?
We are in Calgary for Romance Invades the Rockies, but when this video comes out, we'll already be home.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Bummer. So this video for you guys is our 1-minute book recs. This is where we go over all the books we read in the past week with 1-minute synopsises for each book. Now for Mandy and I both, it has been a week because we were down in Seattle last weekend for an event, and then we were home for 3 days, and then we flew out to Calgary. Yes. So my week is definitely shorter. Tell me about your reading week, and then we'll talk about mine.
Well, I'm pretty much where I normally am. I have 6 books. One, though, is for a convincing that will be out later this week, so we're not going to talk about that one right now. And the other one is a convincing. Actually, it'll be out in 2 weeks. Yours just came out.
So
and I had finished the book en route to
Seattle.
you. So I will have 4 to talk about.
Yeah, and then I'll have 4 to talk about as well because I had a lot of kids with a lot of things this week. I was gone, and I can't listen to an audiobook in the car with the kids in the car. That's just not right. So I have, one is a duet. So I technically have 5 or 6 books that I read this week, but one is a duet, so there's 5. And then one of the books that I read is the newest, the Cage of Ice and Echo, no, A Heart of Frost and Scars by Pam Godwin, which is the 3rd book in her Alaska series. And although I finished it, the book itself was not finished when Pam sent it to me, so I can't talk about it. I will have the rest of that later today. So we'll talk about it next week. So we both have 4. That was a very long way to explain that we both have 4 books.
No kidding.
Oops.
2 minutes into this.
Sorry. Okay, so we need a timer.
I'll watch the clock.
Good girl. Okay. I don't watch the clock very well. I'll just bump you. Okay, so my first read of the week is a historical read. This actually was a reread for me, but I don't ever really talk about these books, so we're going to talk about them. So this is In Bed with a Highlander by Maya Banks. You love historical. Why are you laughing at the title?
In Bed with a Highlander. I don't know.
Well, it means something different. Anyhow, I mean, it has that meaning as well. Okay, so this is about Marin and Ewan McCabe. So Marin is the...
It's not about me and McCabe.
And funny. She'll be here all day, peeps.
Yep.
Okay. Marin is the illegitimate. Okay. Can I go now?
Yeah, I'm recovered. Go ahead.
Okay. You put a book down before people wonder what's wrong with you.
Just trying not to laugh.
Okay. Marin is the illegitimate daughter. We're just gonna keep going, guys. Why?
You keep laughing. Your time's now up.
So Mandy's not in here because she can't stop laughing. The word Marin for some odd reason. Anyhow, so this book is about Marin and Ewan. Marin is the illegitimate daughter to the king, and she has been kept in an abbey for her whole life, like raised in an abbey. And she's at this abbey one day, and it is attacked by this other laird. He's a bad guy, and he abducts her because whoever marries her and has an heir with her, has a child with her, automatically inherits a bunch of stuff. They inherit Nival and all this other stuff. And so this guy wants that. It gives him more position. So he kidnaps her, and then on the way to wherever his estate is, there's a little boy who is found who is trying to abduct a horse, and she protects him. And he goes with her to this guy's estate, and he tries to force her to marry him. And when she doesn't do it, then he beats her pretty badly, and then she and the little boy escape, and then they are found by this guy, and she tries to protect the kid, and it turns out to be this kid's uncle, because his dad is also a laird and out trying to find him. And so that has them going to the keep. That's where she meets Ewan, and that's where she has to keep her identity a secret because she inherits a lot of stuff if he finds out who she is. Like, she doesn't want him to try and force her into marriage too. So
my first book is Second Chance Vacation by Nicole Ryan. This is about Jen. She is a teacher And she has a friend who's very wealthy who's going to take her on this vacation to Europe. So they go off on this vacation. And we have Jackson who goes with his friend on this vacation. So we end up with like the couple trying to set up the other couple. And this would all be okay except for Jackson and Jen actually dated in high school. Jackson was in love with her, and the book starts off with her breaking up with him, and we get no explanation as to why. And he's devastated. So this is several years later, and now they're forced together. I didn't really care for this book. There was a lot of things that I love forced proximity, but this one felt, oh, how do I say it? It just didn't feel realistic for forced proximity. How their friends don't realize that this is like, Jackson is the guy that she broke up with, and like there's no connection there. Like, how are they such good friends but don't know about this part of their past? Anyways, once they find out, they continue to force them to be together. They have to share a room together. They sign up for couples massages together. And it felt, I just didn't care for it. Like, the chemistry wasn't there. Jen is just, she's whiny and annoying. And then Jackson keeps trying to pursue her, even though she broke up with him years ago. I just didn't care for it. I rated it a 2.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
It's all good. You don't have to love it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So the next book that I have is the one that I read for Convincing My Bestie. And you read it this last week as well.
Yes, it's so good.
Yes. So this is The Best Laid Plans by Carla Sorensen. This is about Charlotte and Burke. This is the first book in the Best Men series. So Burke is a newly retired football player. He played for Dallas, and now he had an injury and he's retired. He just wants to go move to where his sister is with her twins and live on the beach and just have this life, right? Like just this plush life that we would all love to have.
He also wants to read a book if he wants to.
He does want to read a book. That's right. But what he finds out that his best friend and his best friend's wife are killed in a car accident, leaving behind their very young little girl. And in the will, the best friend gifted Burke this house, this big old home. It's like a big historic mansion type thing. And so he goes to look at it to see if he, like, what the deal is he going to restore it? When he gets there, he meets Charlotte. Charlotte is the historian, and she's going to work on the house with him. And her aunt is very eccentric. She's like this crazy hippie. And she's like, well, because they're concerned that he's just going to sell the house. And she's like, well, if you want something, back in my day, we held protests and we would cuff ourselves together. And so she takes out a pair of handcuffs and handcuffs Charlotte to the banister. And that is how Burke finds her.
That's the timer going off.
I figured as much. I was finished.
Okay.
Yeah, cool.
How'd you rate it?
Oh, I gave it 4 stars. What'd you give it?
4.
Yeah.
I really liked it.
Yeah, it was good. The second book. Did you read the second book?
That's the second.
Oh,
my next one is the second book, which is called The Best of All. And we have Liam and Zoe. And Liam is also best friends with the couple that were killed in the car accident, as is Zoe. And Zoe actually lives next door to them, and she gets custody of the little girl. And one day, it's like, a couple weeks after their death, she gets called into the lawyer's office to find out that in the will, custody was left to her and Liam. Liam is also a football player. He's still playing actively. He's also British. And he is like, I've never wanted kids. Chris knew I didn't want kids. No, thank you. And then he looks at Zoe and he's like, I will give you money to take care of her. And he walks out. And she's like, what?
Hell.
Like, what? And so this is them trying to figure out how to go forward in taking care of Mira.
Okay.
I loved it. We definitely have Grumpy Sunshine, and of course we have forced proximity with this. Oh my gosh, it was so good. It made me cry more than once.
Of course.
5 stars.
Awesome. Glad you had a 5-star read this week.
Are you gonna read it?
Yeah.
It was so good.
Were you gonna give me spoilers?
No.
Oh,
No,
yeah. I'll read it.
try
Yeah,
really
no, I
hard
want
not
to
do spoilers.
Yeah, no.
So thank you. We have a friend on Instagram who asked if we were going to read that book, and I was like, oh, that sounds really good. And she suggested we start at book number 1, and it just happened to work for the convincing. So thank you.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay, so the next book is my duet, and I read this duet and got to the end and realized, no, it is not a duet, it is a trilogy. And the third book isn't out yet, and it won't be out until the end of the year. So I wanted to cry because it really left me on a cliffhanger. But the book was worth it. So this is the first book in the series is Terrible Beauty. It's by Anna Zaris. It is the first book in the Molotov Betrothal series. The second book obviously comes after that. But this is about Alina and Alexei. So this starts off when Alina is 14, living in Russia. So her parents, both these people's parents live in Russia. They're from Russia. This takes place a lot of the time in Russia. But her parents send her and her brothers to American boarding schools. So it starts out with Alina being in Russia, home on vacation, and her father's like, we're having dinner with these people. You need to come and have dinner. It's with a rival family. When she goes to have dinner, she finds out that her parents intend her to marry this other family's son, who's right there. He's 5 years older than her. She's attracted to him, but again, she's only 14, and he's like, no. But the betrothal goes ahead. So they're just betrothed. They're not engaged, they're not married, but the contract has been signed. They're going to get married. And then we see her, this goes back in flashbacks, and we see what happened after that. Like when she has a tutor who's giving her, looking at her boobs and like making some advances, like it's her English tutor, and all of a sudden he goes missing, and Alexei obviously is behind that. And so this is their story. It is a forced marriage. Eventually she doesn't want Alexei. She doesn't want this life. She doesn't want to be a Bratva wife. She doesn't want what her mother is. So like she wants to see that. But you know, Alexei's are tall, dark, and brooding. So so far with the two books, I've given them 4 stars. I would love to give them higher, but I don't have the third book yet. So I did enjoy it. That really sucked. Last night I was like, dang it! You know, when I got to the end and realized.
Okay. All right. So my next book is Fumbled by Lisa Suzanne. This is part of the Vegas Aces series, and this is the playbook series. So I have this as an ELK, so I have the audio for it. So I've only been able to listen to the first book, and then I'll get the second book on audio. So Lisa Suzanne almost always writes in
If
5.
they don't know what an ALK is,
Advanced Listener Copy. Are you good with that?
I'm good with that.
Okay. So it is very much a coincidence that this book has a very similar theme to the other book, but yet it's extremely different. So we have Travis. Travis is like really described as what I would consider a very typical playboy jock type guy, out at the bars, picking up different women all the time. He gets a phone call to find out that, I don't want to go into too much detail, but basically he has a daughter that he kind of knows about who was raised by her mom and her mom's husband as his, but he's the biological father, and she is 10.
Okay.
And he gets a phone call that they were both killed in a car accident, and which is similar to the other part, and this is where nothing else is similar. He finds out in the will, it was left in the will that she would go live with her biological father. Now, a lot of people didn't even know he was the biological father, so she goes to live with him. And he is not really sure what he's not prepared for this at all, but his parents sent him off to boarding school, and he's like, I can't abandon her. Like, I have to step up and figure this out. So he goes and gets her and brings her back. Well, he had a run-in with this girl, Victoria, and I'm going over my 1 minute. I'm sorry. Victoria and him have this kind of run-in, and she like blows him off, and she's like the first girl to ever reject him, so it kind of sticks with him a little bit. Yeah. Well, she works as a reading specialist at the school that his daughter is now going to go to, and they kind of bonk heads quite a bit.
Oh, that's not what I thought you meant when you went like this.
Oh, Jesus, Jessica.
No, just Jessica.
That is how we've set up the book so far, and then the rest will carry on the story.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
He is a football player. I think I forgot that, but if you're familiar with Lisa Suzanne's books at all, you would know that they're always usually sports centered. So, and the Vegas Aces is the football team. So
you rated it?
I love football, so I was very excited to read this. A 4. Because I kind of feel the same way you do, and maybe I need to get out of that mindset, and like if I really like the first book, then I can rate it a 5, and then if the second book sucks, then that one gets the lower rating. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
But I have a hard time rating when it's like a continuation because I feel like it's breaking the book up. What do you guys do? How do you guys rate books like that?
Do you rate them individually on the book itself, or do you rate them as the series as a whole?
I know.
If it's
so
like a trilogy or something. Yeah, it is hard. I kind
Okay.
of go back and forth. I kind of do both depending on the book.
Well, now I'm thinking that maybe my way of thinking isn't right, and I should just be basing
Because
it
like
right
when I
on
read
that book.
like for Pam's books, right? For these all three of these, they're all 5 stars. On their own, they're 5 stars because they have you like going, oh my god, like, and yes, it ends you on like you end on that cliffhanger, but they're just that good.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I kind of go
But
back
those
and forth.
books are also significantly longer, so maybe that's easier. Like this book is solely kind of setting up everything that's happening, and it's 5 books. So I don't know.
Okay.
Tell us your thoughts.
Yeah, let us know. Okay, so for my last book of the week,
You just give it out.
I'm just giving them all out. I read Romancing Remeb by Ruby Dixon. This is the 3rd book in her Ice Clone series. This is the newest one. It came out this last week. I was so excited to get this. So this is about Tia and Remeb. It's really hard to say that. So Tia is the girl who was brought to the ice planet years ago as a teenager. She's like the youngest one to have ever been abducted and brought there that young. And so she had a lot of growing up to do. So she spent a lot of time at Croatoan with the other group, and now she's an adult and she's come to the beach, the Ice Home Beach, to possibly resonate to this guy that she's been writing for years. Well, when she gets there, he literally resonated to somebody else the day before. And she and this other guy, Arjal, are the only 2 people who have not resonated on the planet. And she's losing her mind. She's like, Arjal and I do not match. We're just gonna be alone forever because we're never gonna resonate because we're not the same. Well, they're hanging out one day at the fruit cave. Oops. And she gets abducted. But there's nobody else on the planet. But that's where we find out that there are others. They live in underground tunnels, and that is where Remeb's clan lives. And his father is the chief of that clan, and he forces Remeb to spend time with Tia in order to force resonance. So this is kind of a captor-captive situation. There's some escape stuff. There's all sorts of stuff. This one was really good. I gave it a 4 just because Ruby's books to me are always 4s. I mean, honestly, because I reread them so much, they probably should be 5s. But I love this world. It's a palate cleanser. It's just fun. It's just a fun world. So, okay. What do you got?
Okay, my last book is Wrong by Rin Shear. This is a darker romance. Definitely check triggers if you need to for this one before you start reading. So this is about Jacob. And Jacob, I gotta be careful with spoilers here. Jacob was accused of something and sentenced to prison for 10 years. And he has recently gotten out, and he buys like a little shack type house on the beach in this quiet beach town, thinking that everyone will leave him alone. And that's not true because everybody in town ends up finding out what happened, and they believe that he is guilty because he served 10 years. So they are horrifically mean to him, trying to run him out of town. And we have Remy, whose parents are like extremely famous socialites. And so she is 26. She's tired of her parents constantly manipulating and telling her like what she can and cannot do. So she decides that she's going to take a clean break, and she secretly relocates to the same beach town, and she runs into Jacob, and there's just something about him, and she starts to have feelings for him. But that gets extremely complicated. Such a great book. You have to read it. But please check triggers first. Okay? But it's so good. Really good. It is a duet, but the second book is actually a separate couple, but you would want to read this book first because there would definitely be spoilers in the second book. So, 5 stars. Loved it.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, guys, that's our week for you.
That is. Okay. Make sure you check back on Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays for new videos from us, and also hit that notification button because we do like to drop surprise videos during the week.
And thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video.